everybody, I hope you're well and had a good week. Today I'm going to talk about what I believe to be optimal parental support. So there's been a couple of things that have happened this week again that have inspired this post, and that I wanted to share with you, just to kind of give you a feel for how I think we can best support our children. Or sort of children that we coach, or our very own children, in order to have a healthy attitude towards sport, and therefore a healthy attitude towards their bodies, which ultimately would hopefully result in more success, but also just will keep them involved in sport and keep them participating. So the two things that happened, again, two sides of the coin. I had a coffee with a friend, and he was sort of saying how he wishes that his parents had been a bit more pushy with him when he was younger, because he used to do quite a lot of sports, and he sort of always wonders if he could have been better than what he was. And his parents just left it up to him basically if he wanted to pursue it. And then, as I say, on the other side of the coin, I had a children's holiday camp just this last week, and there's one parent who is a very successful, in the vet category, for triathlon. I think he's won silver medal at the World Championships, so knows his stuff. And his son, a lovely little 8-year-old lad, clearly sort of different personality to his dad, but he has his first race coming up, and his dad was just sort of saying, so first race coming up, no pressure, almost intimating that because his dad's this amazing triathlete, that there actually is pressure there. So, as I say, it got me to thinking, both based on my own personal experience and through stuff that I've read, that I believe that hopefully I can give some useful advice on this front. So the first thing I'm going to mention is something called the fridge door syndrome, and this is a kind of a theory or idea that's been developed by really incredible sports psychiatrist called Dr. Steve Peters, who I've mentioned before, in his book The Chimp Paradox. Really good read. I recommend that for sport people and non-sport people alike. But anyway, this fridge door syndrome that he talks about is basically whereby when children come home from school, for example, and they have a drawing that they've done at school that they then show to parents, so often parents will say, "Oh my gosh, this is wonderful, aren't you clever?" even though it's actually rubbish. But anyway, that's by the by. And they'll put it up on the fridge for the whole world to see how wonderful their child is because they've drawn this picture. So he says that's one of the worst things that we can do to our children, because basically the message that it's giving them is that they are only wonderful and good because of something that they've done. He says a much better way to almost coach and train our children to make them more resilient is to take the picture, thank them for the picture, but then not really sort of focus on it, and then to actually say, and then how are you, have you had a nice day, how are you feeling, all that kind of thing. And if it is a good picture, then they can still put it on the fridge, but equally if it's not very good, they can say, the sky isn't yellow, why have you drawn a yellow sky, and that tree's a bit big in comparison to that bird, or that kind of thing. Anyway, so it's basically just teaching children not to take themselves so seriously, but also not to put their self-worth on an external achievement, and just to give them just an inbuilt self-worth that is unconditional. I was really surprised when I read that, and I was a little bit like, oh my gosh, I've done that with my nephew before, but I've since rectified it. And I tried to do that sort of thing with my kids on camp now, and all the kids that I coach, just to really, as I say, just if they do something good, that's great, but more just to sort of praise the effort as well rather than the outcome. So as I say, personal experience as well. Now, I am very, very lucky. I realise that now, even if I didn't at the time. But when I was doing my athletics, there's a couple of like real key moments that I can remember that my parents almost intervened, if you like, just to show their support. And one of them in particular, it was before the final of the National Under-20 800 metre championships, and I was really nervous, and my mum could sort of tell, and she actually came and sought me out in the warm-up area for the race. And she'd never really done that before, and she just sort of came up to me and said, Becky, you know, I can tell you're really nervous, but we're really proud of you no matter what. And because I was so nervous, I didn't sort of like thank her. I just sort of thought in my head, you just don't understand. Whereas clearly she did, I just didn't understand. But actually, I wasn't the fastest on paper, and I did go on to win that race. So maybe it did actually have a nice, you know, calming effect. And it was sweet of her to do it. I do recognise that. But at the same time, I thought, you know, she's not an athlete, she doesn't understand. And then similarly, it was a good few years later where you know, it was really starting to get serious in my athletics, and you know, it was getting to a bit of a crunch point whether I could be professional or not, and struggling with injuries as ever. And it was in the depths of one winter, and I was in a really foul mood, and my dad just said to me, he said, look, if you're not enjoying it, just don't do it. And I actually remember saying to him, that is the last thing I need to hear right now. Because I sort of almost, you know, I wanted him to say, come on, everything's going to be all right, you can do this, like, da da da, you know, and then trying to push me and give me that motivation. But again, actually, it probably, you know, it was just his way of saying that no matter what, that, you know, he was there for me and everything would be all right. So, so as I say, I didn't appreciate it at the time, but I recognise now that that was an optimal way of supporting me. And equally, I would just like to point out that they didn't mollycoddle me. They very much taught me to be independent, I would say. So, for example, I used to catch the bus quite often to training, whereas a lot of the other girls in my group, you know, they'd get a lift there, whereas I had to sort of go out in the cold and dark and wait at the bus stop, and oh, woe be me. But again, you know, it sort of helped to toughen me up and add fuel to the fire, and just really give me probably more sense of achievement and fulfilment, perhaps because I felt like I'd done it a bit more off my own back. They did give me a lift somewhere, you know, I didn't always have to catch the bus. And equally, you know, I had to apply for grants and things like that to fund my warm weather training. So, they just, by hook or by crook, I had the optimal support from my parents, I would say. And they still support me to this day. So, I hope you found that useful again. So, whether you are a parent or a coach, or even you can apply some of this sort of thing to yourself, just realise that you are a great person, no matter what you achieve. And perhaps that's what we should focus on more than achievement, is just sort of to teach people to be a good human, and then any success that comes alongside that is a bonus. Okay, right, preaching over. Have a good week. Okay, take care, bye bye.